The leader who always knows everything, you should be giving a side eye because they are very dangerous. Let's talk about it. Peace and blessings. Welcome back to the channel. Leading when you don't have all the answers. This is a topic that is very near and dear to my heart because it is so important to not only be honest, but be transparent. That as a leader, you don't have to have all the answers. And guess what? Your people are not looking for you to have all the answers. I have spoken about in previous videos the fact that we are at a precipice in society where we are seeing the cracks, the fragments, the breakdown in performative leadership. Even at the highest levels of the world, we are seeing cracks where the fakeness, the performance of just being in the position and calling yourself a leader not only has very dangerous consequences, but people are starting to see through it. Now, what do I mean when I say that you should be giving a side eye to the leader who claims to know everything? Well, because no one can know everything. It's just simple as that. And a leader who is making it out to be that they know everything and have all the answers is not someone that should be trusted. Because, first of all, if they honestly believe that they have all the answers, well, they're either delusional or they're lying to you. Now, either one of those are not very good options. And it leaves room for a lot of missteps and disasters. And we are seeing that currently. So let's talk about the certainty trap. You have some leaders that feel under pressure, that it is obligated upon them to know everything. And that's a whole other conversation about, how that all comes about. But in complex situations, this can create delusion. It's one thing to be decisive in your decision making and going a certain direction, but it's another thing to come in and say, oh, yeah, I know exactly what we're going to do. Especially if, it's a high stakes environment and you are out of your element as a leader, and that's okay. There's been situations where I was out of my element when I was in the military. And this is something I want to touch on with the certainty trap, is having the intellectual humility. This is also something that they taught us in the military when I went through leadership training, was that it's important to practice intellectual humility. What is that? That you don't know everything and that it's okay not to know everything. Being honest with yourself that you don't know everything. But that doesn't mean that you won't be resourceful and get to the right answers. It also does not mean that you will not take a step back with your own ego and say, let me bring people on board who do know, who do understand, so that I can get their perspective. That's huge. That's what real leaders do, because real leaders realize that it's not just about them. It's not just about them looking good. It's about solving whatever the issue is and getting to that other side. Okay. Growing, accelerating that bottom line. And what are we seeing now? Without getting into the specifics, what are we seeing now? Are we seeing a display of leaders on the world stage consulting with others who know better than them? Getting information, practicing intellectual humility? You and I both know the answer to those questions. But if you look back at some of the most successful people, whether it's business, politics, etc., they will tell you that they did what? They surrounded themselves with people who knew things that they didn't. Why? Because they were practicing intellectual humility. Now, let's talk about the difference between confidence and delusion. Confidence says, I believe we can figure this out. Let me repeat that again. Confidence says, I believe we can figure this out. Delusion says, I've already figured it out. Let me repeat that part again. Delusion says, I've already figured it out. One invites collaboration, the other one ends it. Because the other one is saying, I have all the answers. You don't have to have all the answers. And I said this in the very beginning. Your people are not looking for you to have all the answers. They are looking for direction. They're looking to be led, and they are looking for trust and security. Delusion does not create trust and security. It creates distrust. It creates doubt. It creates chaos and destruction. None of those things that you want for your organization. The vulnerability advantage. So that's acknowledging uncertainty, which is okay. Because when you acknowledge that uncertainty, that connects to what your people are feeling, that connects to their emotions, but that also shows them that you're real, that you're not going to sit there and blow smoke and tell them everything is cotton candy and rainbows when it's not. People need to hear that. And you can still, while doing that, while exposing that vulnerability, providing them what I said just a moment ago that they're looking for, which is guidance and direction. That is how you build trust. That trust thing is a whole rabbit hole. Maybe we'll do a series on just trust alone with leadership. But building that trust, it gives your team permission to do what? Think. And if you do what I said in my previous video about really having an open door policy where people feel safe to express their concerns and ideas, well, guess what? Your people are going to come to you and they're going to want to work on whatever this is. Okay, they're going to want to work on that because you have now given them permission to think it is safe, and they're going to contribute and help create a solution, which is powerful. Everybody talks all day long about teams, but how many people know how to create a team that contributes to the bottom line, not out of fear, not out of positional power, but because they want to, because they have so much buy-in, they are loyal to the organization. That is the dream, right? And this is a part of how you get there, by not pretending to be a Marvel character and have all of the answers. How to lead through unknowns. This can be very difficult, it can be scary as a leader. I'm not going to sit here and lie and say that it's not. We're all human. It can be very scary when you know that you are leading something and all of that weight is on you. It can be very scary that you don't know the future, that this was not in the quarterly planning. And you're like, what are we going to do now? Say it for what it is. Share what you do know. Ask for input. Practice that intellectual humility. Make a decision with the best information available. That's key. Not a random decision. Because again, we want to be potent with our decision making. And you can't do that when you are not opening the door for proper input. If you close the door for proper input, you cannot have the data and information you need to make an informed decision. So you want to make the best decision with the information that you have available and adjust as you go. That's a huge piece of leadership that not a lot of people talk about, is the flexibility. Being more flexible with your leadership, how you lead in certain situations. Going with the ebbs and flows. That doesn't mean that you're erratic. That doesn't mean that you don't have control or know what's going on. It's just that you understand that at the end of the day, you have to move and groove with the tide, because there are unknowns. And that is how you handle the unknowns, with adjusting as you go. Your team doesn't need you to be right. They need you to keep it real. And practicing that intellectual humility is how you keep it real. That's all I got for you today. So subscribe for more on leading through complexity. And if you like these hot takes on leadership, comment below, let me know. And if you know that your team needs support navigating this uncertainty with things that come up, check out the link in the description box. Book a call with me and let's have a chit chat about how I can help you and your team, your organization really step up when it comes to knowing how to lead in uncertain times and situations. Until next time, peace.